Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to distinguished representatives, co-facilitators, speakers, and all online participants. My name is Garnop. I am a project assistant from APT Secretariat. So welcome everyone from the APT headquarters in Bangkok, Thailand, to the second APT Web Dialogue on WSIS+20 Review Process, a series of discussion following the WSIS+20 Web Dialogue in April. We thank you so much for your participation, and so far, because this platform is not only aims to increase awareness of the WSIS review process, but also consolidates our cooperation by sharing experiences and views to further support digital transformation and meaningful connection. So our moderator and speakers will do their best to address all requests from you from the floor and questions. And we do apologize in advance if we are not able to cover all the statements from the floor, and we'll try our best to follow up your outstanding questions. And may I also ask everyone to please mute your microphone when you are not speaking and make sure your microphone is on when you take the floor. In the Q&A question session, we fully encourage you to raise your hand and join our discussion. We would love to hear your diverse perspectives. Now, it is my great honor to introduce Dr. Masanori Kondo, Secretary General of the Asia Pacific Telecommunity, to give opening remarks. So, Dr. Kondo, thank you for joining us, and you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, MC. So, High Excellency Ms. Suela Yanina, Ambassador, Permanent Representative of the Republic of Albania to the United Nations, His Excellency Mr. Ektela Lokalde, Ambassador, Permanent Representative of the Republic of Kenya to the United Nations, distinguished speakers and ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening across the diverse time zones. It is my great honor to welcome you to the second APT Web Dialogue on the 20-year review of the World Summit on the Information Society, or WSIS+20. Last month in Geneva, the WSIS+20 high-level event brought together 11,000 participants from over 160 countries, reaffirming our shared commitment to inclusion, human rights, and sustainable development. The chair's summary called for clearer action lines, stronger monitoring, and deeper multi-stakeholder cooperation, all aligned with the 2030 agenda. These principles are also the values that have shaped APT's mission for 5 decades. Through concrete initiatives, including capacity building programs on many ICT policy agendas, we have ensured that technology's benefits reach every community, from Asia's digital megacities to the remote atolls of the Pacific, especially in least developed countries, LDCs, and small island developing countries, SIDS. Ladies and gentlemen, today's dialogue offers a valuable opportunity. It allows us to amplify Asia-Pacific voices, engage with our esteemed co-facilitators, and define regional priorities that will shape the global WSIS+20 outcome. As artificial intelligence, 6G, and quantum technologies reshape our world, the choices we make today will decide whether we build inclusive digital bridges or allow the new divides to emerge. The Asia-Pacific, home to 60% of the world's population and the epicenter of digital innovation, has both the opportunity and the responsibility to lead this transformation. Together, let us seize this moment to ensure our digital future is not only advanced, but inclusive, secure, and sustainable, defined by our unity, vision, and commitment to human dignity. Finally, I would like to express my special thanks to Mr. William Lee, Assistant Director for Internet Governance at the Australian government, for co-organizing and moderating this valuable APT Web Dialogue. I hope that today's discussion will be fruitful and enriching for each and every one of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Secretary General, for your kind remarks. And it highlights the important impact of the telecommunication and ICT technology as the UN member states will consider a new WSIS resolution at the high-level meeting. This will have a significant impact on the APT members, especially digital transformation and ICT development in the Asia Pacific. So before we begin, may I invite Secretary General, representatives, co-facilitators, moderator, and speakers to join the group photo for a minute. And my colleague, Ms. Kulasap, will assist us with the screen capturing. So Kun Kulasap, whenever you are ready, and please let us know when you are done. Kulasap. Okay, okay, we're done. Thank you so much for joining us in this group photo. So now, please join me in welcoming our moderator, Mr. William Lee, an Assistant Director of Internet Governance from the Australia government, who will guide us through today's discussion. Mr. William, thank you for your great coordination, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and a big thanks to Secretary General Kondo and to members of the APT Secretariat for their excellent support of today's webinar. I have very little to add to what the Secretary General has said about the importance of the WSIS+20 process and the importance of today's discussion as we head into the review process. We have an excellent panel of speakers that have kindly agreed to join us from around the world today to share some of their thoughts and insights, both of the process so far and the process yet to come. Today's webinar will be in a number of parts. The first part we will hear from the co-facilitators who are joining us from New York, Ambassador Lokale of Kenya, and Ambassador Janina of Albania. We'll then have an opportunity for any questions that anyone on the call may wish to pose to the ambassadors. So please, as they're talking through their remarks, put any questions in the Q&A box so that we can make sure that those are addressed. We'll then turn to some of our other distinguished speakers who have been following this process very closely and hear from them about what their thoughts and reflections are of the process, how to become involved, and how the conversation is developing so far, with a particular focus on the impacts and opportunities for us here in the Asia Pacific region. Following those presentations, we'll then have an opportunity to discuss your thoughts and perspectives on the digital transformation and digital development within the Asia Pacific region, and a discussion amongst those distinguished panelists before we wrap up today. As we look to get started, I will invite Ambassador Lokale and Ambassador Janina to make some remarks about their perspectives on the WSIS+20 review process and the process that they will be leading for all UN member states, including all APT members in New York over the coming months. So please, if you do have any questions during this session, please put them in the Q&A box, and we will make sure that they are asked or addressed after the session. I really want to thank the ambassadors who are joining us. As I said, from New York. It is 11 p.m. in New York, and I'm sure they are joining after a very long day as UN New York prepares for the opening session of the UN General Assembly in a few weeks' time. So we really do appreciate the time that you've made to join us as a region today to discuss the work that you're leading through this WSIS+20 process. I'll pause there and hand over to the ambassadors to make some remarks. Thank you very much, ambassadors.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. If I may, first thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Asia Pacific telecommunity for convening this timely exchange on the WSIS+20 review. It's my pleasure to join you this evening from New York alongside my colleague, Ambassador Yanina of Albania. Let me also thank all member states, stakeholders, and regional actors here today for their ongoing contributions to this process. As co-facilitators, we've tried to place great emphasis on ensuring that the review remains transparent, inclusive, and grounded in member state leadership, while also benefiting from the perspectives of the broader digital community. And as many of you, and I see very many familiar faces, are aware already, we joined a series of consultations, starting with the UNESCO in June, the IGF in Norway, WSIS+20 high-level event in Geneva, and multiple virtual sessions to gather reflections on the WSIS framework and how it can evolve. The elements paper that we released in June distilled a number of common themes from these consultations, and over 120 written submissions were received, and it has helped us in the process of drafting the zero draft, which we expect to circulate by the end of this month. Now, while I'll not preempt the zero draft text, allow me to share some general reflections from some of the consultations that we've had, reflections that have guided our thinking. First, there is strong consensus that the WSIS vision of a people-centered, inclusive, and development-oriented information society remains relevant, but that it must evolve to meet new technological realities. Second, we've had consistent calls to bridge digital divides, not only in connectivity, but also in content, skills, governance, participation, and the equitable access to digital opportunities. Third, stakeholders have emphasized the importance of capacity building and financing, particularly for developing countries, to ensure that digital transformation and effective participation, to ensure inclusive digital transformation and effective participation in global digital policy spaces. Fourth, there is recognition on the importance of coherence with the GDC, although care must be taken in how we reference GDC language. We are mindful that these discussions were hard fought and must be reflected carefully and respectfully within the WSIS+20 context. On enhanced cooperation, we've noted both interest and caution. Many stakeholders, particularly from the Global South, have recalled its recognition in the WSIS+10 outcome, while also acknowledging the need for a balanced and more forward-looking framing. Then finally, we've had the importance of reaffirming human rights principles, including the right to privacy, freedom of expression, right to development. So this is, especially the right to development, is a point of priority for Kenya and for many members of the G77 plus China. As part of our efforts, I don't want to exhaust everything because I'm sure my colleague would want to make some points as well. we've tried to promote multi-stakeholder engagement through establishment, for example, of an informal multi-stakeholder sounding board, which is drawn from the MAG, Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group and Leadership Panel, which provides non-negotiating input to us throughout the process. And we see this as a model that upholds the multi-stakeholder spirit of WSIS while preserving the intergovernmental character of the negotiations. So, Chair, if I can stop there, and to thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Lokale. If I may just join you first in thanking the organizers, APT, for inviting us in this web dialogues. It's good that we have been able to join the second one. First one in April will just been appointed by the President of General Assembly, tasked with this duty of co-facilitating the WSIS process. But it's good that we have this opportunity, and we are very eager to hear from everyone today and tonight. It's really a good opportunity for us to hear more. As you already mentioned, and my colleague already mentioned, Ambassador Lokale already pointed out the main points of discussion that we have had through the process. We have had several meetings and wide range consultation with member states and stakeholders, including some in-person sessions at UNESCO, in Norway, in Geneva as well, and some other virtual consultations that we have during the month of June and July. Through these consultations, we have heard diverse and thoughtful range of proposals that reflect the complexity and interconnected nature of the digital cooperation architectures. So, as already mentioned, these ideas include possibilities and proposals to better articulate the relationship between WSIS and other ongoing processes, particularly the Global Digital Compact, while also ensuring that WSIS is grounded in its original mandate. Also proposals that we have received around, the number is impressive, that my colleague already mentioned, around 120 written submissions that we have received from member states and stakeholders, based on the elements paper that we have released, also outline some key themes and proposals, and they serve as a basis for the negotiations toward the zero draft that is expected to be delivered by us at the end of this week, more particularly this Friday. So these inputs and our engagements with member state stakeholders and different actors has helped us to better identify areas of convergence and issues also maybe of further discussion or concern. So we have had, or we have perceived, we have been transmitted the strong commitment to the WSIS vision and the recognition that it should continue. The relevance is really very important in an evolving digital age. And the vast majority of those inputs broadly agree on the urgency of bridging divides, enhancing multi-stakeholder cooperation, and modernizing governance frameworks in line with ethical and human rights-based principles. So more concretely, we have seen broad consensus around the need to retain the foundational vision of WSIS for a people-centered, inclusive, and development-oriented information society, while updating it to meet the contemporary challenges that the digital age is bringing to all of us. We have seen also kind of agreement that emerging technologies, including AI and data governance, must be meaningfully integrated into the WSIS framework. Another point of convergence is the emphasis on capacity building. Member states and stakeholders have underscored the digital divide across infrastructure, skills, access, and governance is profound, and the WSIS+20 outcome should commit to concrete action in addressing these gaps. As already mentioned by my colleague, we have had full support for ensuring meaningful multi-stakeholder participation throughout the WSIS+20 process, while at the same time we understand that the process itself remains member state led. But we as co-facilitators are very careful, and we won't walk back on the innovative model that this multi-stakeholder engagement has been characteristic of WSIS for the last 20 years. So these areas of alignment offer a solid foundation as we work towards developing the zero draft of the outcome document. And as already mentioned, to strengthen the multi-stakeholder engagement, we have established the multi-stakeholder sounding board, and I'm really very pleased to see many of the members here tonight to engage in this dialogue as well. So, however, we are aware that still some differences remain. Maybe some of them we can indicate around the GDC role, governance models, and obligations for technology transfer. So we are hopeful that those topics will be further negotiated and will be a kind of fruitful dialogue that we can ensure that WSIS+20 outcome is coherent, inclusive, and future ready. So in our capacity as WSIS+20 co-facilitators, we have announced the schedule of key meetings in October, bringing together member states and stakeholders. So I invite everyone to consult the webpage of DESA, where everything is clear enough. We are now clearing up also the next meetings during the month of November, so everyone have it clear enough in terms of providing maybe timetables when everyone can participate. And I just want to conclude this first part of our interaction with you that we are looking forward to the participation of all stakeholders, to their contribution, also being grateful to the contribution up to now. And we hope that we'll keep together, because the WSIS process is important for all of us, and everyone needs to take ownership and to give the contribution. So by December, when the high-level event will take place, we hopefully will have negotiated texts that will bring the best for the next decades for the digital age, not only for this generation, but also for future ones. So that will be the request that we have as co-facilitators, and we're looking forward to make this journey very fruitful together with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ambassadors, for those remarks and reflections on the process so far. Colleagues, if you do have a question, please do feel free to put it in the Q&A box, and we'll make sure it is asked. I do have a question, I guess, to start us off, which is you both talked a fair bit about the upcoming zero draft text. And I was wondering, we have a lot of colleagues on the call today who are from policy ministries within their capitals, responsible for ICTs, responsible for digital development and digital transformation. And so I was wondering how best you think, in your experience, colleagues can share their thoughts on the zero draft once it is released, either in writing or through to their missions in New York, to best support the process and ensure that the Asia Pacific's perspective is included in the discussions as we go forward. So perhaps if we can start there, and some reflections from yourselves, ambassadors, and then we can see if there's any other questions.
Thank you, William, for this question. I may maybe start and then my colleague can join, because this is a very important point to make clear and possible that everyone who is willing to participate and to contribute. And this is also a good occasion, as you are mentioning. We have many experts from the capitals, but also this is a triangle that we want to use effectively in a way that the zero draft will be delivered on Friday, this Friday, that will be 29th of August. And then we have left almost all September for stakeholders, member states to digest it, to read it carefully. But just I wanted just to mention the fact that as in during the elements paper, it's not that the element is, I mean, this document will be just written on stone. It's something that we will work together with it. So that's why I would like to ask everyone to see it in the light, how to improve it, how to make it better, because maybe we'll have also some constraints in terms of space, of limits, of not maybe being able to put everything or to address everything in depth. But I mean, these are constraints of UN documents that everyone understands. But our view on the text is just to have also the mandate that has been given to us, just to review, to see what we have achieved as positive during the last 10 years in the WSIS process. What are the gaps that we can identify and how we can address them? So this is the idea on which we are trying to work. And after we receive written inputs during the month of September, in October, we'll start the consultations and the negotiations on the text, on the outcome text. So this is a very important moment, because up to now we have heard many inputs written or also during the consultation in different places where we have been in IGF or WSIS forum or in other events. But now it's really critical that we really look at concrete proposals and ideas and how to shape them in a way that can work, they can be workable for the process, and improve it in a way that is acceptable to the majority of us. We are aware that maybe we will not be able to satisfy everyone on this outcome document, but let's be constructive all together, work on it, see how we can improve it and make it better, to work better for the WSIS community in general.
Thank you, Ambassador Janina. And perhaps I can ask Ambassador Locale a question as well. I think one of the things that you talked about in your remarks is the real importance that you're hearing of digital development and digital transformation, and the opportunity that WSIS+20 will bring. I know we have many colleagues in the region who focus very heavily on working through ways to support that digital transformation journey in the Asia Pacific region. And perhaps different countries are at different stages of that journey, looking at both the emerging technology side of that journey, but also down to the real fundamentals of connectivity. So I wonder perhaps if you can share some thoughts from what you've been hearing about how you're expecting WSIS to, I guess, bring together all of those different digital transformation journeys and provide I guess, a narrative that will support all countries to benefit from the information society, as you mentioned in the WSIS vision.
Thank you, William. First, I note that my background is not as beautiful as everyone else's. I seem to have missed the memo on how to put up that beautiful background there, so my apologies for that. Now, that's a very important question, and first, we are starting from a very good point of view, because WSIS has a good legacy of really working hard to promote an inclusive information society. If you look at 20 years and the amount of transformation that has happened in different regions of the world, it has happened because of the approach, the inclusive and multi-stakeholder nature of the WSIS process. So even though gaps still persist, but give it to this process to lift people from the numbers that we're talking about, internet connectivity in 2003, to a situation where 60-70% of the world today is connected. That's remarkable progress. So I think and this is something that Ambassador Yanina and I are careful not to lose, is to build upon the approaches of WSIS, which have enabled us to come that far. And structures such as, the Internet Governance Forum, for example, in generating ideas and setting agenda, has been important in that regard. The WSIS Forum itself, the cross-pollination of ideas, and so on. So that's one way, just continuing on that trajectory, but trying to identify the areas where these 30% are likely to be left behind and focusing on those. So that's the first point. Then the second related to that is, if we can again build upon themes or objectives such as capacity development, because that's a key plank of WSIS, invest more there, promote additional or innovative ways of financing digital cooperation. So those would be some concrete ways in which we can address that. Then finally, there are many processes which have been happening, and I think it's a good thing that the WSIS review is coming, for example, against the backdrop of the AI-related processes which have been going on in New York. And I'm saying it's a good thing because, different stakeholders have had an opportunity to ventilate the different points of view and the difficult discussions, arising in the context of those processes. And I'm talking about the independent scientific panel, the global dialogue, and so on. So what that does is it saves us, within the WSIS+20 review, from having to go through the difficult motions again of negotiating or discussing those particular topics. And Ambassador Yanina and I will have a perfect excuse of avoiding those pitfalls by saying, the processes have already settled that point. So we have a bit of breathing space there, so to speak. And we are hoping that tomorrow in New York, the AI-related processes are likely to be adopted by consensus. That was the mood by this evening, had it not been for the heavy agenda, it would have been adopted even today. So that is a good mood, a good space within which to conduct this. I hope, William, I responded to your question.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. That was an excellent answer, and I'm sure has given many of my colleagues from across the region a lot of things to think about. Thank you both, ambassadors, for joining us today. You are more than welcome to stay on the line for as long as you may wish, but I also recognize it is very late there as well. So we will certainly make sure that a readout of the remainder of the discussion reaches your desks following this webinar. And colleagues who are joining us from across the Asia Pacific region, I think it's been a really useful conversation to have the ambassadors join us from New York. I would only encourage you to to speak with your missions in New York, to engage with them, and also to follow the website of UNDESA that the ambassadors mentioned on ways to get involved in the process. And we'll make sure through the APT that those links are circulated following the webinar. So thank you very much, ambassadors. A lot of food for thought for us. And we may now move on to the next part of the conversation that I foreshadowed. As I mentioned, if you do have questions at any point, please put them into the chat. We'll make sure that either we can answer them here or that they get to the relevant experts. I would now like to introduce our next couple of speakers, Adrian Wan from the Internet Society, who has been following a lot of this WSIS process, including the recent events in Oslo and Geneva, which the ambassadors talked about. And then following Adrian, we'll have Mina Seo-Min-jun from the Republic of Korea, who is our APAC Vice Chair for the ITU Council Working Group on WSIS and SDGs, who likewise has been following these processes really quite closely, including the process that occurred at ITU Council back in June. So we have asked Adrian and Mina to talk briefly about some of their reflections from the process so far, some of the key messages that they've heard, which may be relevant for us as a region to be thinking about, and any of their reflections from the conversation so far. So Adrian, we may start with you. I'll give you the floor, and then following that, Mina. So please, Adrian, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, William. I do have a few slides, so let me share my screen. Oh, so sharing is not turned on. Can I have the rights to share, please?
I'm sure we can get that fixed with our colleagues in the Secretariat.
Okay, great. I have it now. Thank you. Okay, is everyone looking at the same view, the full view? Great. Okay, give me a second. So, okay, yeah, I'll start. So, thank you, William, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you today. This morning, I'm in Malaysia this morning, and really glad to meet so many of you in different parts of the world, including the co-facilitators, which is really late for you today. Yeah, I was asked to give a really brief overview of the process so far and share a few reflections, and I just wanted to start here. WSIS World Summit on the Information Society started as a 2-day conference, first one in 2003 and the second 2005 in Tunis, first one in Geneva to the second one in Tunis. And that is why we call it WSIS +20 this year. It's turned 20. It was a new thing at the time for governments and other stakeholders to come together to agree on a digital development agenda or agreement. So it was a really innovative thing at the time. But a lot has changed over the 2 decades, in the middle of 2 decades. And that's why the review happening this year is so important. And that's why so much depends on this. And that's why we all should be paying attention to this. So after that bigger time frame, let's zoom in on what's happened so far this year. On the top, we'll see the various consultations, not all of them, but most of them, that the co-facilitators have taken up from, as we've said already, the co-facs were appointed in April and then the first preparatory meeting took place in May, and a lot of consultations in the IGF, in WSIS forum followed. As we said, there were more than 120 submissions, including written submissions from the Internet Society, my organization, and many organizations represented here on this call today. So my brief talk was to sum up what's happened so far, so I won't skip over the red line here. We will get there, I think, on this call later, but just a really quick reflection on the process so far. And it is that we at the Internet Society, we think it's important to ensure that the internet continues to offer the core abilities for everyone. For instance, to share, to innovate, to work, and to communicate, for instance. Yeah. And that's why it's important to protect and nurture the internet's fundamental characteristics. We think it's important to affirm the Net Mundial +10 commitment that the internet is a global resource. Other than that, of course, it's really, really important to recommit to the multi-stakeholder governance and adhere to the 10 Net Mundial principles. Like the two co-facilitators said, it's really important to acknowledge the importance of the IGF as well. And so we think it's important to renew its mandate with sustainable funding and make it evolve with the time. So I'll stop sharing here and pass it on to our next speaker. Thank you, Willow.
Thanks, Adrian, and some great slides that I'm sure will circulate around, which really capture some of the conversation so far. Mina, please go ahead.
Thank you, William, and thank you, Adrian. It's a pleasure to meet you all. So let me provide a short briefing on the recent discussions around the WSIS+20 review in both the ITU and IGF. First, at the ITU Council and its Council Working Group on WSIS and SDGs, member states acknowledged the major achievements of WSIS over the past 20 years. They pointed to progress in digital inclusion, connectivity, and capacity building, and emphasized the IGF as a lasting outcome of WSIS and a pillar of a multi-stakeholder model. At the same time, delegations stressed the remaining challenges. Universal and meaningful connectivity is not yet achieved, and the digital divide persists, and the risk of online harms and the power concentration and fragmentation of the internet are growing. Across the debate, there were clear consensus that ITU must continue to play a central role in the WSIS process, while ensuring complementarity with the Global Digital Compact. So many member states also voiced strong support for the granting the Internet Governance Forum of permanent mandates. To ensure inclusivity, the Council agreed that ITU's submission to the UNGA WSIS+20 review would annex all member states' contributions. Meanwhile, at the WSIS CWG on WSIS and SDGs, members reaffirmed the close linkage between WSIS action lines and SDGs, and they welcomed ITU's leadership of the UNGIS mechanism and the development of the WSIS, SDG, and GDC metrics, which maps existing WSIS structure to the Global Digital Compact. Well, turning now to the IGF, at the IGF 2025, participants also underlined the significance of the WSIS+20 review now before the UNGA. So they recalled the achievements of WSIS, the IGF itself, and the spread of the multi-stakeholder model on the rise of national and regional IGFs. Yet they also pointed to gaps. Connectivity remains unfinished business, and digital scales uneven, and online harms persist. And also the fragmentation of the internet remains serious concerns. Also, the protecting human rights, particularly freedom of the expression, while strengthening the trust and safety online, was seen as a continuing priorities. So looking forward, participants identified several key priorities of reaffirming and then strengthening the IGF mandates and ensuring the WSIS+20 outcome complement the GDC, and deepening integration with the national and regional IGFs, and tackling emerging issues such as AI, data governance, and the multilingualism. So in conclusion, both the ITU and IGF communities see WSIS+20 as a turning point, an opportunity to celebrate achievements and then confront shortcomings and reaffirm the frameworks that will guide the next phase of digital cooperation. So as we move towards to the UNGA discussions in December, it will be essential that all stakeholders remain engaged. And in this context, it is particularly important that the voice of Asia Pacific region are fully reflected. So member states and the stakeholders from our region have a vital role to play in ensuring that the diversity of perspectives, priorities, and then development needs are incorporated into the global outcomes. So active engagement from our region will help make WSIS+20 a process that truly represent the whole international community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mina. Some really useful reflections from your perspective of the number of processes that have already happened and their impacts for our region. We will come back to Adrian and Mina's points, but I did want to bring in now two members of the informal multi-stakeholder sounding board. As the ambassadors discussed in their remarks, they have established this informal multi-stakeholder sounding board to assist them throughout the process, and we're lucky to have two members of that sounding board joining us today. I think it's tonight for both of you, so we really appreciate you joining us. We have Jennifer Chung from the .Asia group and Teresa Swinehart from the ICANN organization, who are on the multi-stakeholder sounding board and providing a lot of advice, I hear, to support this WSIS+20 process. So I'll hand over the floor to you both now. I'm not sure who would like to start, but we have asked you just to share some reflections on the process from your perspective so far, things that you think that the colleagues from across the Asia Pacific region should be across and thinking about, and perhaps how they may be able to support your work as well. So I'll hand over the floor now to yourselves. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Will. Perhaps I might start first if Teresa is okay with it. Hello again to the APT community. I'm very happy to come again before you in a slightly different capacity. Previously, I was talking solely from the technical community point of view, and now part of the informal multi-stakeholder sounding board that our co-facilitators, ambassadors Nina and also Locale has put together. We are one conduit where the non-state stakeholders, so specifically civil society, private sector, technical community, and then all others, including academia and youth voices, can be reflected into this process. I think it's extremely important to note this is one of the first attempts to do such a thing, and I think it's a really testament to the commitment that the co-facilitators had placed on the emphasis of WSIS, really being grounded in the multi-stakeholder model and process. So a little bit on our reflections, at least for the sounding board so far. We were just, I guess, announced in the middle of July, but immediately we hit the ground running, and we've actually provided a quite lengthy reflection on the elements paper. I think you will be able to find that in the UNDESA website in part of the written inputs. And I think one thing that we really do want to stress is for the sounding board, we bring together all the inputs we've heard in the different stakeholder groups and communities, and we note areas of convergence and also some areas of more diverse views and opinions to assist in all of this preparation, especially in the consultations, especially also in the preparations for zero draft. Specifically, I guess maybe I'll point out some items that we have noted. Looking at the elements paper, of course, the most important achievements, a lot of you've already seen in many written inputs that we've noted is connectivity has been one of the most important achievements arising from WSIS. The other would be the multi-stakeholder engagement and collaboration as a basis for inclusiveness. And then, of course, there's the IGF, the Internet Governance Forum, being a vital space for stakeholders to engage on these issues impacting WSIS action lines, and also being a very unique platform for multi-stakeholder dialogue. Some of the challenges we've also noted, of course, listening to all of the community input, especially from the different stakeholder groups and also the underserved regions, is that there are persisting and growing digital inequality. And I think Ambassador Vignini has already mentioned earlier in her remarks to have actually concrete proposals to address this widening digital gap. And also the fear and I guess the concern about the growing and increased fragmented digital policies and fragmentation of the internet is something that WSIS, at least looking at the outcomes document, should be addressed. If we have a fragmented policy, fragmented regulatory approaches, it would be very difficult for us to also enjoy the many benefits of digital transformation. I think something that we also pointed out as important priorities for us to be able to achieve this WSIS vision of a people-centered, inclusive, and development-oriented information society is to accelerate these meaning connectivity and digital inclusion. Things like promoting, enabling innovation-friendly policies and financing environments, and reinforcing multi-stakeholder governance and global cooperation. I think I'd like to pass, the floor over to Teresa to kind of opine a little more on what the sounding board thinks about, the WSIS architecture and also more the regional and national concerns that we would like to, the APT community to consider and listen in from. So I'll pass the floor over to Teresa.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you everybody for the opportunity to join. As Jennifer noted, I'm also here in my capacity as a member of the sounding board, and with that have joined in the work that we've been undertaking. And a big thank you to the ambassadors for the sounding board and the opportunity to be contributing towards this. As Jennifer had noted, our working methodology is really to look at providing input and seeing where there's alignments and all of that. And in that, we have the opportunity to engage with many different forums, including this one, to hear what other stakeholders are thinking, to bring that all together, to create awareness around all of our networks of the opportunities, and importantly, to bridge with each other. While the negotiations are in New York, governments and stakeholders are participating in different forums. So this is really an opportunity to bring this all together. First of all, thank you for that and the opportunities around engaging here. Jennifer had highlighted some areas in the elements paper that the sounding board had provided as input. And I would encourage everybody to take a look at that. We'd really tried to be succinct about what we were hearing more generally and figure out how to also bring conclusions there. As had been noted in also the opening remarks by the ambassadors, part of this is really also importantly to be forward-looking. And what does the future look? There are so many achievements that have been accomplished in the last 20 years with the internet, including a delivery against the WSIS action lines, and there's much more that of course can be done. And so one area we wanted to also highlight in the input that we had provided on the elements paper relates to the suggestions to support the development of the WSIS framework more broadly. That is the action lines, the IGF, the forum, and other institutions around that. And what would be incredibly valuable from the Asia-Pacific region is additional input on what developments will assist that framework to be future-looking. We had identified, retain and refine the WSIS targets and actions lines, but also to make sure that they are able to advance with this emerging technology and the technology that's changed, and to be able to address and commit to those lines and really look at how to achieve them with specific examples in this emerging environment that changes so rapidly. It was also around developing and strengthening the implementation frameworks. There's many dialogues that are occurring. How do we ensure that those dialogues have mapping that is complementary to each other? that promotes what needs to be promoted and really avoids duplication or overlap, so it can really leverage and harness all the important dialogues that are coming and bring some synergy towards that. And that's going to be an important area moving forward with the internet taking on where it's going. I think it's already been highlighted, of course, the strengthening and institutionalizing of the IGF, which has proved to be quite an important dialogue on a place for discussions on internet policy issues, which have really evolved over the last 20 years to different kinds of topics. And then, of course, the development of the national and regional internet governance dialogues that have been occurring there. And that includes then, of course, the integration and the fostering in a future way for the engagement at the local level. So I would say, just to add in for the dialogue here, what is incredibly important from the region is to hear what is critical for what the future looks like. Without that input, it's not only the sounding board that can try to help reflect that and bring that forward, but the sounding board needs to be truly global in what it's reflecting and what it's hearing and what it can help provide. And with that support through this unique model, the ambassadors, of course, with the dialogues that are occurring in New York. In what is then the government negotiations. So as was said, this is a non-negotiating part of the structure, and the input for that is quite important. So I hope I haven't gone on too long. Happy to take any questions, but thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Teresa. Thanks, Jennifer. And as I have been saying, if you do have questions as we go through, put them in the chat. I think we've heard now where the conversation has been over the last 6 months, over the last few years, how we have kind of got here. We've heard a little bit about the mechanics, we've heard a little bit about kind of how this process is coming together. Now I want to turn very briefly to kind of what do we do? What is the opportunity for the Asia Pacific region? And we have two speakers to get us thinking in that space. The first, Mr. Yukio Teramura, the Assistant Vice Minister for International Affairs from MIC Japan. And the second speaker, Angela Wibawa from ICANN, who is the Asia Pacific lead for ICANN. So we will turn to them in just a moment, but following them, what we will do is have the opportunity to have an open dialogue. So we want to hear from other countries, from other regions, from other ministries about some of your reflections. We can answer your questions and also have a discussion among the panel, but just I will say, don't feel that this is just a one-way conversation. Once we get through these speakers, we want to hear from you. So please, Mr. Teramura, I know Japan has been doing a lot of thinking on this and has been an active participant in the process. So I hand over the floor now to you for some reflections from your perspective. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, William. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I am Yukio Teramura, Assistant Vice Minister for the International Affairs of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of the Communications of Japan. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to present our perspective today. And I would especially like to express my appreciation to Mr. Lee and all of you for your efforts to bring together the perspective of the Asia-Pacific region. I am very much looking forward to hearing your views and engaging in discussions as we prepare for the WSIS+20 review in December. Okay, so I will explain our perspective briefly. And Japan has consistently emphasized 3 key points regarding WSIS+20 review. First, bridging the digital divide and addressing global challenges. Second, multi-stakeholder approach. And third, the continuation of WSIS activities. Today, there are still 2.6 billion people in the world who remain unconnected to the internet. So we must continue working to close the digital gap and tackle global issues through the implementation of WSIS action lines and the advancement of technology. Japan's effort with APT and ITU in developing resilient infrastructure against disasters are based on this principle. At the same time, there are many challenges that cannot be solved only by governments. Collaboration with the private sector, civil society, the technical community, academia, and the international organization is essential. So, WSIS has long served as a variable framework within the UN system, bringing together the expertise of specialized agencies to enable comprehensive responses to the issues. We believe this framework should continue beyond 2025. And regarding our feedback on the recently released elements paper, we first reiterated the 3 points I mentioned. On the other hand, we found that the element paper places significant emphasis on AI governance. Therefore, we provided comments on AI, particularly generative AI. AI is rapidly evolving and spreading across society, becoming indispensable in many advanced economies. Japan is working with ITU to support AI capacity building activities in the Asia-Pacific region. However, we believe that AI governance has already been thoroughly discussed under the Global Digital Compact, and including this element in the outcome of the WSIS+20 review would be duplicative. So the follow-up process for the GDC is a UN-wide effort. And there are several guidelines on AI governance, including those developed through the Hiroshima AI process. And we believe that the next step for us is not establishment of new AI governance framework, but rather supporting multilateral cooperation and interoperability in AI governance. And in order to achieve this, we believe that the active involvement of multiple stakeholders is indispensable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Teramura. Really powerful reflections, I think, from the Japan perspective. I will turn now directly to Angela from ICANN to share some of the thinking that your organization has been doing. And then as I flagged, we will then turn to our audience to see others. So those in the audience, please warm up your raise hand functions. But Angela, over to you first.
Thank you, William. And thank you, APT colleagues, for having me again to provide you updates on our work for the WSIS+20 since April 2025. So this morning, I will share about how ICANN and the technical community have contributed to the WSIS+20 process thus far and what all of us can expect in the next few months. In the summer of this year, after what you've heard some of the colleagues have said, right after the first round of this APT Web Dialogue, many key activities have taken place, and the contributions from the technical community have been very heartening. In June 2025, as you've heard, ICANN participated in the 20th anniversary of IGF in Norway, and in July, we also participated in the annual ITU WSIS+20 high-level event in Geneva. So for ICANN, the convergence of these two events represented a pivotal moment in the ongoing WSIS process and an opportunity to reaffirm what works, why it must be protected, and how it can be improved. As per our commitment to participate in WSIS milestone, ICANN and the technical community have been actively participating in the various stakeholder consultations that have been initiated by the Honorable two co-facilitators and what have been mentioned several times at this session. So during the first round of consultations, this is before the elements paper was released, we underscored our 3 objectives. In addition to that, we also provided proof points as to why they work, because we believe underscoring objective sometimes is not enough. You need to show why they actually work and therefore why they are important. And upon the release of the elements paper on 20th June, ICANN also contributed both verbal and written contributions. Through our responses, we hope to highlight achievements and evolution of the internet and its governance model and provide suggestions as to how aspects of the elements paper could be further improved before drafters start working on the draft outcome documents. And a few weeks back, ICANN also had the honor to participate in the verbal consultation session on 29 July. So at this session, I can encourage the Zero Draft to consider and reflect the evolution of the internet, the achievements of the multi-stakeholder model of governance since the WSIS Summit, and we urge to consider using language that built on and consistent with WSIS+20 outcome document and the GDC. So why is it that our, not limited to ICANN, but also the broader internet stakeholder, why is it that our contribution and participation important, and why I feel the need to mention this here? Because on contributing to open and inclusive consultation is another way to prove that this model works. Before the formal start of the WSIS+20 process, many in the internet community advocated for open and inclusive process. So when those opportunities are made available through the leadership of the co-facilitators, the two ambassadors from Albania and Kenya, it is therefore important that we make use of them in an informed and constructive manner. Only then we can preserve this process and encourage it to be further improved. So moving forward, our call to action to the Asia-Pacific region that I shared in our April webinar is still applicable. The internet community, especially those in the Asia-Pacific, cannot afford to be passive and quiet observers. We urge stakeholders across sectors and stakeholders groups to stay informed and engage in discussions where you can. This is because the decisions made in the lead-up of the WSIS+20 will shape the internet's next chapter. The core challenge is not building something new, but protecting what already works. We must safeguard the multi-stakeholder approach that has kept the internet stable, open, and resist shifts towards fragmentation or exclusion. On our part, ICANN will continue to participate with these related events and highlight opportunities to contribute to interested parties. ICANN remains committed to working with partners across stakeholders, regions, and also government to protect the technical foundation of internet and ensure that governance structure remains globally representative and rooted in shared responsibility. And with that, I extend thank you again to APT and the webinar organizers, and I hand back the time back to William. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. Before I turn to our panel, we've heard a lot today from some really esteemed speakers, and I hope we've been able to take everyone on the journey of what this is, why it's important, how to get involved, and how some of the thinking is evolving from an Asia-Pacific standpoint. I will take an opportunity to invite any colleagues who may wish to share their country's perspective on digital development or digital transformation to raise your hand now. Happy to just take a moment to see if anyone wants to take the floor and share those thoughts. If not, that's okay. I have many questions for our panel because we have walked through all of these excellent presentations quite quickly. So I will put our panel on standby, and if you do wish to take the floor, please just do raise your hand now. And I'm not seeing any hands come up, which is totally fine. If you do feel like you want to take the floor, we do have about 20 minutes. So very happy for you to put your hand up and we will slot you into the discussion to hear from your ministry or your country's perspective. But I guess turning to our panel, I think we've heard a lot about the process, a lot about the opportunity that WSIS+20 is bringing. But I wonder, given all of your experience, both either within our region or on this digital transformation and development journey more broadly, what you would like to see as the one improvement to WSIS that can support the Asia Pacific's digital development and transformation priorities. I will start, and I'm going to pick on Adrian first and work in the order that we had the presentations. But Adrian, I wonder if we can start with you as to what would be your top improvement to WSIS to support the priorities of the Asia Pacific region.
Sure, thank you, William. To me, the Asia Pacific is such a diverse region, consisting of really advanced economies and also developing ones, catching up on connectivity development as well. So it's really important to ensure that the implementation of the WSIS action lines is complemented and not duplicated by other processes like the GDC. Because think about it, the more we complicate the process, the harder we make it for interested people or policymakers and other stakeholders to be involved in the process. The threshold gets higher and higher the more the more complex we make it. So one thing I'd like to see is is that the two are aligned but complement each other, but not duplicated. I feel that would make various stakeholders more inclined to be part of it and more easier to contribute as well.
Thanks, Adrian. A really good point. Mina, I think we'll turn to you next, and I'll probably ask you to also add any reflections you're hearing through the ITU process that into this answer about what you think is the top priority for WSIS for our region.
Thank you, William. So yeah, like Adrian said, Asia Pacific is really diverse. We have diversity countries and then areas. So now I always emphasize that our involvement in this process is really important. Well, Asia Pacific region has been developed a lot since the last 20 years, but still we have many gaps in the skills and the uses in the digital. And then we still need to put some more investment in the infrastructures as well. So WSIS action lines is still very much relevant to our regions. So, so we need more regional cooperation, and then global alignments is really crucial for us to be better in next 20 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Mina. Teresa, turning to you now, and I recall your call to action for our region to share back to the sounding board some of its thoughts, and we'll make sure we take you up on that offer. But I guess given your, more broader experience on digital transformation and development, what do you think is something that you would like to see changed through the WSIS, or that you've heard from the sounding board is something that's likely to be changed that could really support our region on that digital transformation journey?
I think some of the observations have already been made, and I would fully agree. Just from more general standpoint, I think if one looks at the future of the WSIS and the WSIS action lines, and substantively they cover a wide range of areas and have been able to be important regardless of technological developments, which I think is a very thoughtful aspect of it, and demonstrates that the action lines are actually time neutral or technologically neutral, if I could put it that way. So they are important from that standpoint. And from the discussions here, and then just also from observations, the Asia Pacific region is very large and very diverse, and diverse in many, many different ways. Connectivity issues, inclusivity aspects, languages, development aspects, many, many different areas. And so a valuable input into the dialogues occurring now is the shared experience of what has occurred under the action lines, but what is also necessary to enable those action lines to exist in the future and be as effective as possible. And the tremendous work that is happening in the region to create further awareness of what initiatives are already underway to really help avoid duplications, avoid overlaps, and bring some synergy together for the action lines and the future-looking direction coming out of the WSIS+20. So I think it's a great opportunity to hear more and not be shy about sharing what is occurring and what opportunities there are and what would be valuable for what the future looks like to make the action lines as effective as possible and to make the outcome of the WSIS+20 as effective as possible for the globe and in particular for the region, of course. So my observations from Werwin, how we pull it all together, so to speak.
Thanks, Teresa. That's some really useful reflections as well for someone looking at our region from a different perspective. So thank you. Yukio-san, do you want to share? I know Japan does a lot of work on digital development and transformation in our region, so would be very keen to hear what you think should be the top priority to improve on that situation. I think you are on mute.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's a good question. As Mina and Teresa mentioned, the Asia-Pacific region is rich in diversity and faces different challenges in each country. So particularly in island nations, there is an urgent need to develop infrastructure with disaster resilience and capacity building regarding AI. And so Japan is supporting its capacity building of AI and the implementation of tsunami mitigation systems through the ITU regional office. And I believe that the outcome document of the WSIS+20 review is important not only in presenting principles, but also in how to involve various entities and concretely implement those principles. It may overlap with the previous presentation, but to achieve this, it is essential to create a framework for the issue solving through collaboration among diverse stakeholders, including not only the government, but also private sector, engineers, academia, and civil society.
Thank you very much. And turning to Angela now, I guess reflecting on your work and I guess the opportunity that you get to explore our region and work with many countries in our region, given the work that ICANN does in the Asia Pacific. What would be your, I guess, one improvement to WSIS to support Asia Pacific's digital development and transformation journey?
Thanks, William. Can I have two instead of one?
Sure.
So the first one, I would like to pick up from what Adrian said about the need to avoid duplication. So mentioned earlier that we hope to see a WSIS outcome that is built upon and consistent with previous relevant work. This is because the internet and its governance model has evolved in the past 20 years, and this evolution should be celebrated and built upon instead of recreating the wheel. As a developing region like Asia Pacific and many developing countries, we cannot afford to spread our resources even thinner to rebuild and recreate the wheel. So this is an improvement. I guess less improvement, more of retaining what works. The second, in terms of improvement, we hope to see multi-stakeholder coordination or the way it's being done to be strengthened. So picking up some of the points earlier by the various speakers, the strengthening of a platform like IGF. So to remain fit for purpose, the IGF requires sustainable resources, a strengthened mandate, and the ability to produce actionable outcomes. A strengthened IGF at the global level will help ensure that outcomes at various levels, regional level, national level, are better channeled and considered by the global processes. So just because IGF is at the global level, APAC should not think that it will not benefit how our views at the regional level, but instead strengthening at the global level will trickle down to the regional level, and it should be an improvement to be considered. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela. Again, some really important messages there. And I think ties all of the messages that we've heard on this question together. I will take the opportunity as, I guess, the moderator to exercise my prerogative to, I guess, add one more reflection from my perspective, which is that I think there's a real opportunity to improve the way we keep track of and monitor and evaluate progress on the action lines. I think as we have heard from so many speakers, the Asia Pacific is such a diverse region. There is not a one-size-fits-all model. But what I have certainly heard as a government representative is that we are all grappling with the same challenges. So having the opportunity to keep track of what has worked, what is working, where further work is needed, where perhaps some countries or some parts of our region or the world are falling through the gaps or falling through the cracks that may need a little bit more support. And conversely as well, where we have real successes that we should be sharing across the region. So for me, there's a real opportunity to support our region through really robust monitoring, evaluation, and reporting that is meaningful, that is action orientated, and that can be picked up by countries across our region and taken forward within their national jurisdictions and national capacities. So taking my moderator's prerogative, that was just an additional reflection I think I've picked up not only on today's webinar, but in conversations around the world. I will take an opportunity to just check and see if we do have any questions or if anyone from our region wants to share their reflections. Again, please do put up your hand. If not, I do have one more question for our panel, which will probably take us to time. And I guess it kind of builds on this first question where we focused in on the region, but kind of bringing it out a little bit further to the process that we've heard about. How would you really recommend those attending the webinar today become involved in the review process? Obviously, we have different ministries, different stakeholders involved. We've heard a lot about the mechanics that are happening, but at a really practical and meaningful level, how do you think we should, how do you think people can best get involved, whether that's within their own jurisdiction, working with governments or other key stakeholders, or engaging directly in the process? And perhaps we might go in the reverse order this time. So Angela, I might turn to you first. I know you've been tracking this process really closely, so I'd be interested in your reflections first.
Thank you, William. And thank you for the surprise. That kept me awake. So, from my point of view, I think the number one most important will be to keep yourself informed. Being informed is very important in giving constructive input. This is a complicated process. It involves a lot of coordination, close coordination, and I think we have done a very great job thus far. But in order for our contribution to be meaningful and to be helpful to the co-facilitators and to the other UN member states, you need to make sure you are kept informed. Then you don't have to do it yourself because it is a complicated process. There are a lot of resources available. For instance, in ICANN, we have this thing called the WSIS+20 Outreach Network. It's a mailing list comprising and a web page comprising useful resources on what are the new upcoming developments, discussions, webinars, so you can hear views from other people. You don't have to do this alone. There are other people there are other experts who want to share their views. So keep yourself informed. Will definitely go a long way in giving hints and clues on how you can participate, on how you can make your views heard. And also number two, very important, talk to your governments, because at the end of the day, as what the co-facilitators has said, WSIS+20 is a government-led process, and therefore it's useful to convey your views to the government, to your government, to see so that they will know what their people want. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Angela. Yukio-san, I think similar question, but perhaps one of the reflections I would have as a government representative looking at the WSIS is that the issues in WSIS perhaps sit across many different policy agencies in our governments. So I wonder if you could also perhaps reflect on how you think coordinating within a national government on WSIS is so important, and perhaps any tips that you might want to share with colleagues.
Okay, it might be better to explain our examples first. For example, we have been conducting workshop on AI capacity through ITU, but we adapt the contents based on how the target country are ready to DX and AI. So by understanding the actual conditions in each country, I think we can produce outcomes that are more realistic. So I believe that the APT and ITU regional offices are close to the actual field. So if they could share the challenges that each country is facing and the solutions they have actually used to solve them, it would realistically clarify the priorities when reflecting this in the outcome of WSIS. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yukio-san, and a very useful suggestion for us to perhaps take forward. Teresa, do you have any reflections on how best people can engage in the process?
Yes, actually, it's quite interesting to reflect on where the WSIS process was 20 years ago or 10 years ago. And it's striking that in this sort of iteration of it, the openness of the process is really, it's extremely open. It's reflecting a multi-stakeholder approach to the extent it can for something that is then government negotiations that are occurring in New York. And so I think the observation would be to benefit from it. Utilize it, utilize the forums, the opportunities to provide the input, whether it's into the zero draft, whether it's into any of the consultations, whether it's engaging with your government agencies, engaging with the missions in New York, that there's a receptivity to ensuring that the views are reflected and ensuring that people can share and stakeholders can share their observations. And with that, it's a credit to the ambassadors and the co-facilitators to be engaging in a process such as this, including the informal sounding board that was put together, which, as was noted, is non-negotiating, but it is yet another iteration of opportunities to ensure that there are venues to allow one to engage. So engage with your governments, make sure that that also gets to the government missions in New York. Everybody is stretched and has many things on their plate. So the more one can help provide input and information, that's incredibly useful, and use the processes that exist. Reach out to the sounding board members, reach out to your groups, your network, take advantage of providing input in the consultation processes, because this is really a unique open process for what is a negotiation occurring in a UN environment. And it's quite different than we've seen in the past. And so I think that's a valuable reflection of the progress made on the negotiations. So I hope that's helpful, but just reflecting where we were 20 years ago as opposed to now, it's a vastly different place. So it's a good opportunity.
Thanks, Teresa. Mina, any thoughts or reflections?
Thank you, William. So I will just share the Korean government's plan till the December, so it may like other countries can reference. So at this week, if there is a zero draft released, the Ministry of Science and ICT will have an open consultation with domestic multi-stakeholders before we submit the written opinion to the UN. And then after that, the Ministry of Science and ICT will consult with also Minister of Foreign Affairs and then missions in New York. So it's kind of a triangle work inside the government as well. So you need to make sure we all have a same page, the understanding of the WSIS+20 among the Science Ministry, ICT Ministry, and then Foreign Affairs Ministry. So that's another important point. And then in the meantime, we will also emphasize to our domestic multi-stakeholders there is a mean to involve they themselves directly involved to this consultation at the during the October process. So that will be our main goal. We will do our government process, but we will also keep informing the multi-stakeholders in domestic, so they can also find a way to deliver their own opinion to the UNGA. So then after the first draft release, we will go to the second round of this practice as well. So I hope this helps to the others. Thank you.
Thanks, Mina. Some really good reflections there. And Adrian, I know ISOC's been doing a fair bit of work on outreach, so perhaps final word over to you.
Thank you, William. Adding to what Teresa and other colleagues have said, I shared that on my first slide as well. WSIS came about when there was no agreed framework for digital cooperation or internet governance. It was a groundbreaking initiative. This is our chance to do the same for the coming decades and beyond. It's a precious opportunity for us to secure and build our global digital future together. And there are various ways you can get involved. On top of what's been raised already, the Internet Society has a WSIS+20 working group in which we work with our global community of chapters, organization members, and other partners from around the world. So it's another avenue where you can be involved as well. Thank you. Back to you, William.
Thanks very much, Adrian. And thank you all to all of our panelists who have taken time out of their mornings, afternoons, and in some cases, late evenings to join us. To briefly summarize, I guess, kind of those key dates and key points that we have ahead of us. We have the zero draft at the end of this week. We have an opportunity for written comments over the month of September. On the 13th of October, there will be a virtual consultation organised by the co-facilitators timed to support our region. So would encourage everyone to join that. And then there'll be intergovernmental consultations and negotiations in New York in mid-October. So would encourage you all to engage with your missions in New York on that. We will make sure we get some of the links and information that have been shared, some of the slides and other useful materials out to you today. I hope this webinar has been really useful. What I'll do now is hand over to the APT Secretariat to close us out today. But from my perspective, thank you for joining us. And thank you all to our panelists for sharing your insights and thoughts for our region. But Kronup, over to you to wrap up and close with any final messages.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. William Lee, for a comprehensive wrap-up. I couldn't agree more that the Asia Pacific is really diverse, not only geopolitical and demographic variety, but also different needs and priorities from the government and industry sectors, which remain our challenges, that our collaboration is needed more than ever. And we appreciate your hard work and dedicated time in preparation for this dialogue for APT members. To keep in touch with the WSIS review process over the past 20 years, the APT Secretariat couldn't be more grateful for the insightful experiences shared by our speakers and co-facilitators, ambassadors, which make this dialogue so rich and meaningful. And thank you all participants, and thank you APT Secretary General, Dr. Kondo, for your kind words and participation, and APT colleagues, Kun Jarmon, Kun Kulasap, Freya, Nidup, and Tohit for their behind-the-scenes hard work and support. And please help us take the survey before you go, and we send the survey to your email, and check out our APT website for updates and future events. And you can also connect with us on APT LinkedIn And this web dialogue is also recorded on YouTube channel of the Asia Pacific Telecommunity. So previous dialogues are there for you anytime. And thank you once again. Thank you very much for your time. And we look forward to connecting with you in the future and continue the collaboration that we have so far together. Thank you so much and have a good day. Good night.